DBMS full form is Database Management Systems. The syllabus for DBMS in GATE examination, I have shown you in the screen. We will be having for GATE, this full 100% syllabus is shown on the screen. And for NET, other than this, something extra will be there that we will be seeing later. So if you take the syllabus of GATE DBMS or NET, 75% of the syllabus will be same only. Remaining 25% we'll be studying later. Now you see the syllabus here. We have to study ER model, relational model. In relational model, we have to see relational algebra, tuple calculus, SQL, integrity constraints, normal forms, file organization, indexing, especially B and B plus trees, transaction and concurrency control. Okay, so this is very, very important. You will be getting around 6 to 8 marks from DBMS. Around 6 to 8 marks means it is easily scorable also. If you know all the concepts, we can easily get that mark. The main topics from where the questions are coming are this part. Definitely question will be there. Relational algebra, tuple calculus, SQL. Definitely 2 to 3 marks questions will be there. Definitely every year 2 to 3 marks, and that is there in GATE also, NET also. Now this normal form is very, very important. This also 2 marks you can get, 2 to 3 marks. Okay, normal forms. Then the next important goes to transaction and concurrency control. Transaction and concurrency control. This also you can get 2 to 3 marks. Okay, on an average. So this is very, very important. This topic, normal form and transaction and concurrency control. Now you may be thinking, what about other topics? Other topics, regularly questions are not coming, but maybe every alternate year questions are coming, maybe 1 mark or 2 mark kind of thing. This B plus tree is next important. ER model also sometimes questions are coming. Okay, this constraints also they can ask. So all other topics comes in the second category. Okay, the other whatever I have mentioned star over there, that is very, very important. Okay, so any subject we are learning, definitely we should know which all are the standard textbooks available for that particular subject. So for DBMS, other than my class, you can refer 3 standard textbook I have mentioned over here. The first textbook I have mentioned is Nawate, Fundamentals of Database System by this Nawate is the author, Nawate, Elmasri and Nawate. Second book you can refer Database System Concepts by Korth, Silberschatz and Korth. Okay, Database Management Systems by Raghu Ramakrishnan. These three books you can refer. Okay, once we will be covering all the problematic problems and all, but if you want to further enhance your knowledge or for broad understanding, you can always read the textbook. Fine. So that is the background story about this DBMS subject. Now my question is, now you have to start responding to my questions. In 1970, Dr. E.F. Code proposed this model, relational database model. Relational database model. There are many other models also. For our syllabus, we'll be having only relational database model. Dr. E.F. Code has proposed in 1970 this particular model. Actually, what he has proposed is that the data can be stored in a table kind of structure. That table is otherwise known as relation. table or relation. Okay, so all the data can be stored in a tables kind of structure, and it can be stored also, it can be manipulated also. The tables can be manipulated also. So Mr. Code has proposed this particular model. Now, in that model, if you see, we have some technical terms coming over there. That this diagram you can see. In that diagram, I have mentioned in the top some text that record, database, DBMS, etc. So what is a record over here? In this particular table, we understood that this particular diagram is showing a table or a relation. In this relation or a table, can you tell me what is a record? Can you tell somebody? Can you respond in the chat? What is a record? I have mentioned it over there. Record is a collection of individual data. So what can be a record? Okay, very good. Many people are responding very quickly. Wilnie, Wilson, Sonia. Okay, fine. Actually, a record is actually a tuple. A record is actually a tuple. So if you see here, A1, B1, C1, this entire row, we normally call it as tuple. The pronunciation, both the pronunciations are correct. Tuple or tuple. Okay. So this is actually this tuple, or otherwise we call it as a record. Now, what is a database? An organized collection of records. That means we can say that this particular thing or this particular diagram, we can say that it's a database. An organized collection of records are known as, that means organized collection of all those rows are known as database. Then can you tell me what is a DBMS, database management system? Can you tell some example? Can you type it on the chat? Some example for DBMS? SQL, very good. Gidu, SQL, Anjali G. Nair, database, exactly that DBMS. It's not database, that name you have to tell. A software that facilitates the end user to manage the underlying data. Oracle or SQL or what all database names you know, everything comes under that DBMS. So SQL or your Oracle or anything, etc. is like a DBMS. So this is a fundamental idea. Okay. So we are studying relational database model. So now some more things you can see it over here. You see here. Here in this table, this A is capital. So if you observe here, this A is capital, this B is capital. It doesn't mean that we have to mention it is in capital, but I have mentioned it as capital letter over there. Can you tell me what is the technical term for this one? Quickly you can tell. Chat. Technical term for this one? Please respond. Column name. Exactly. Attribute. Some people are telling that attribute. So these all are attributes. A is an attribute. B, after some time, no, I will not be telling what is attribute, what is tuple, what is record. I will simply tell this attribute, tuple, record, and at that time it should be very clear in your mind that, oh, this is attribute, this is record, all those things. Okay. So A, B, C are all attributes. Okay. Now, based on the number of attributes, number of attributes are technically known as dash. Can you tell me? Here number of attributes are 3. Number of attributes. Shalini, correct. Arity or degree. Next one. Yes, correct. So number of attributes are known as arity or degree. Arity or degree. Arity or degree. So here arity or degree is actually 3. Okay. Now some others can tell this one. Number of tuples. Now this I told that this is a tuple. Total 4 tuples are here. What is the technical name of that? Number of tuples is known as? Yeah, correct. Cardinality. 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 So cardinality is number of tuples. Okay. Number of. Cardinality is number of tuples. Here, what is the cardinality? 4. Right. So number of attributes are known as arity or degree, and number of tuples are known as cardinality. Here cardinality is 4, degree is 3. Very much clear. Yes or no? Till now everything is clear? Yes? Type Y. Okay, fine. Shall I go to the next one? Okay. Now for further moving towards the subject, we should know in a table or in a relation and table both are same. Okay. So in a table or in a relation, what do you mean by functional dependency? What do you mean by functional dependency? Can you tell? Can you tell what do you mean by? Somebody can respond. Yes, you can respond. Nobody is responding. What is a functional dependency? If I write here A determine B, what is the meaning of that? What do you understand from that? A is determined. Is it correct in this particular table A, whether A determine B, is it correct? A determine B, whether is it correct? No. Rinsi is telling no, Ria is telling no, Sudhakar sir is telling no. Okay, fine. Okay, so now again some more technical terms are coming. In this particular table, this particular left side we call it as determinant. Determinant. D-E-T-E-R-M-I-N-A-N-T. Determinant. And this one is dependent. Dependent. Okay, this is determinant and the other right side one is dependent. Now, what is the meaning of this functional dependency? Each value of A, 1 minute, let me connect my, give me 1 minute. Okay, sorry, I forgot to connect my laptop charger. Okay, so each value of A should be associated with same value of B. Okay. If I write like this definition, you may not be understanding. So if I'll simply tell, if I have to tell that A determine B means, if at all my left side, what is my left side? This is my left side. Okay, this is my left side and this is my right side of this arrow. If I am telling that A determine B, if left side, if it is repeating, the right side also it should repeat. That means take the case of A and B. Take the case of A and B. Left side means that is A to B. Yes. Now, if at all left side is repeating, see A1, that is your left side. A1 is repeating. If at all A1 is repeating, right side B value also should repeat. Here it is B1 and here it is B2. For that reason, A determine B is wrong. Are you getting it? Now you may be thinking, you may be getting some doubt, like what about this A2, only single value is there? This dependencies, we can always talk about an instance only, a given set of values. For the given values, whether this is coming correctly or not. Okay. So A2 is not at all repeating, so it is not violating the rule. A3 is not at all repeating, so it is not violating the rule, so there is no issue. But the problem here is that A1 is repeating, but B is B1 or B's value, that means B1. Here, if it was B1, the answer would have been correct. So that is the idea. Okay. So functional dependency, if you have to say, can you tell me, I'll write some functional dependencies over here. Can you tell me whether these all are correct or not? Okay. A determine B, B determine C, A determine C, C determine A, AB determine C, BC determine A, AC determine B, A determine A, B determine B, C determine C, AB determine A, and BC determine B. Now one by one you can tell whether this is correct or not. Whether A determine B is correct or not, we already told that that is not correct. Yes, we already proved that A determine B is wrong. So how you will tell? A is not determined. We'll be writing symbol is like this. A is not determining. It is like this way. Okay. A is not determining B. What about B determine C? All are saying no. Why B determine? Why is not B is not determining C? If at all B is repeating, B1, B1 repeating. If at all B is repeating, again B2, B2 repeating. C has to repeat. This is correct. This is okay. But what about this one? B2, C2, B2, C1. This is wrong. Yes. So B determines C is also not correct. What about A determines C? A determines C. Is it correct? A determines C. Only C, repetition only you see. Okay. A1, A1. A1, A1. Here it is C1, C1. So it's correct. If at all left side is repeating, then only the complication will come. If nothing left side it is repeating, it is always correct. Are you getting the point? So now A determine C is correct. A determine C is correct. What about C determine A? C determine A. Why it is not correct? C1, C1, C1. A. Here it is A1, here it is A2. It is not correct. AB determine C. Is it correct? AB determine C. AB means combinedly you have to take. A1, B1. Whether A1, B1 is repeating? No. A2, B1. A2, B1, whether it is repeating? No. A3, B2. Whether it is repeating? No. A1, B2. Whether it is repeating? No. So there is no issue. So AB to C is correct. What about BC to A? BC to A. BC to A means B1, C1 repeating. B1, C1 repeating. But here A is not repeating. So it is not correct. AC to B. Now you understood, I think. AC to B. AC to B. AC. A1, C1. A1, C1. AC to B. Here it is B2. Here it is. So that is also not correct. A to A. Whether A to A, it's always correct. It's trivial. Why? A1 determine A1 itself. It's always correct. A2 determines A2. A3 determines A3. A1 determine A1. It's always correct. Okay, it's trivial. It's always correct. Now B to B is also same case. B to B. Okay, trivial. C to C is also, we tell that's trivial. I will tell the definition of trivial later. Now AB to A, is it correct? Why, Archana, it is not correct? AB to A. Okay, AB to A, you see whether AB is repeating. A1, B1. Here it is not repeating. A2, B1, A3, B2. Here it is correct only. Now again, why it is also again trivial. Trivial functional dependencies will be always correct. Okay, AB to A is also correct. BC to B, yes, that is also trivial. That is also correct. Okay, so this is the case. You may be thinking that it's very easy only, but 2-3 times in GATE examination they have asked this question for finding whether it is functionally determining or not. Okay, so this is the fundamental idea behind this one. If you are clear with this one, I can go to the next question. Can I see some yes?
Matthew sir.
No, I'll tell once again.
Matthew sir.
A lot of students are responding. Fine.
Matthew sir.
Okay, fine.
Sir, can you hear me?
Now, next question. I will write here. This is another relation instance. I'll write some functional dependencies.
Sir, can you hear me? Sir, Matthew sir.
X, Z determine X. X, Z determine X. X, Y determine Z. Z determine Y. Y determine Z. X, Z determine Y. Now you tell me the answer for this one. X, Z determines X. X, Y determine Z. Z determine Y. Y determine Z. Which all things are correct over here? First one, is it correct? I'll number it. Sudhakar is telling it's correct. Nivya, yes. 1, 2, and 4 are correct. Ria is telling. Please work out on it, book. Okay, fine. So the first one is correct. Second one is also correct. Once again, I will tell. Here, left side, X, Z is there. 1 and 3. If at all repeating, Y, which one has to repeat? X has to repeat. Okay. These two cases only it is repeating, and X is repeating. Other case, it is not repeating. You don't have to worry about it. Okay. So the first one is correct. What about second one? 4, 3 not repeating. 5, 3 not repeating. 6, 3 not repeating. 2, 2 not repeating. So this is always correct. Z determines Y. There is a complication. 3 Z is having 3. So all the cases Y should repeat. So in that case, here it is 4, 5, 6. All are different. At least one difference is enough to tell that it is wrong. So this is wrong. So Z determines Y is wrong. What about Y determines Z? Y. Nothing is repeating. 4, 5, 6, and 2. Nothing is repeating. So Y determines Z is always correct. And XZ determines Y. XZ determines Y. 1 and 3. 1 and 3. Repeating. If it is repeating, Y has to repeat. 4 and 5. It is not repeating. So it is wrong. So XZ determines Y is wrong. Is it clear? Can I see some yes or no's? Is it clear? Only one statement you have to remember. If the left side repeating, then only complication. If it is repeating, then right side has to repeat. That's all. Can you explain? One means first one, XZ. So XZ means 1, 3. 1, 3. 1 and 3. 1 and 3 is not repeating. Yes or no? Yes, 1 and 3 is repeating. 1 and 3. So 1 and 3 is repeating and x has to repeat. What is that? X, it is 1 only. It's correct. X is repeating and it is repeating. 1 is repeating. That is correct. Okay. So the 1 is correct. Can I say yes now? Okay, fine. So shall I go to the next one? Okay, fine. So that is the case about functional dependency. So we understood that what is a table, what is a relation and table both are same, and very important concept, functional dependency. Functional dependency, x determines y means if at all x repeat, y has to repeat. Okay, fine. Now, again, functional dependency itself, we can classify. Mainly, we can classify it into two. One is trivial functional dependency, and another one is non-trivial functional dependency. But non-trivial, again, we can little bit more elaborately, we can classify into non-trivial and semi-non-trivial. Okay, I'll just explain what is that. If a trivial functional dependency means if x is a superset of y. Okay, if x is if left side, this is after our left side, this is left side and this is right side. If left side is a superset, there are more number of attributes than right side or exactly same, the values, the attributes are exactly same, then we can say that it is trivial. Now I'll write an example. AB determine A. Is it trivial or not? Can I see some yes or no? Yes, AB determine A is trivial. Then AB determine B is trivial. Yes. What about AB determine AB determine AB, whether is it trivial? AB determine AB, is it trivial? Yes. So this kind of functional dependencies are known as trivial. That means the left side will be always a superset of right side. Okay. So that kind of functional dependencies are known as trivial functional dependencies. Now, purely non-trivial, it is like this. X intersection y, if it is not equal to phi, we will say that x intersection y, if it is, sorry, it's not equal, it is equal. X intersection phi, x intersection phi is equal to phi. That means, you tell me this one example, I'll write over here. Example, AB determine CD. Is it trivial? Whether left side is a superset of right side? Is it trivial? AB determine CD? I'm asking whether is it trivial or not. It is not trivial because left side is not a superset. Superset means this AB, the attribute should be higher. Okay, it's not trivial. Now, if you take the intersection of AB intersection CD, any attributes are common? No. If there is, if A left side intersection right side is phi, so AB intersection CD is phi, we can say that it is non-trivial. Okay. Now one more definition is there, semi-non-trivial. It is this one. Two cases we have to tell parallelly. If x intersection y not equal to phi, okay, not equal to phi, and x intersection y is not equal to phi, and if x is not a superset of y. Can you tell one example for this one? X intersection y, this is opposite case of this one. X intersection y not equal to phi. That means intersection something should be there and left side is not a superset. Can you tell one example? AB determine CD. AB determine, many are typing, I know that. AB determine BC. Here, AB intersection BC is not equal to phi because AB intersection BC, what will be there? B will be there. So this case is satisfying, and X is not a superset of Y. All the attributes in the right side are not present in the left side. So this is also correct. In that case, we can say that it is semi non-trivial. Is it clear? This trivial, non-trivial also, previous gate questions are there. It is very important. Okay. So trivial means left side should be a superset or exactly same. Okay, exactly same. Non-trivial means when if you are intersecting left and right, it should be phi. Nothing should be there. Okay. And your semi non-trivial means x intersection phi not equal to phi and x not a superset of y. Okay. So that is the definition of trivial, non-trivial, and semi non-trivial. Can I move to the next one? Okay, fine. Now my question is, you can see the question. How many functional dependencies are possible for a relation with n attributes? How many functional dependencies are possible for a relation with n attributes? Can somebody tell this? That means I'm just giving the attributes alone. AB is a table. You may be thinking why AB and all. For studying purpose, we will be writing the names of attributes as A, B, C, D, etc. and all. But in normal case, it will be like email ID or your student ID, employee ID, student name, S name, all those names will be there. But for writing purpose, for easiness, we are writing like capital A, capital B and all. Can you tell me how many mathematically, how many maximum number of functional dependencies you can make from this one, A, B? Two attributes table, can you tell me? How many functional dependencies you can make? Okay, actually, mathematically, we can say that this many functional dependencies we are having for A, B, we can have, it's basically our functional dependency or relational database model is fundamentally based on this set theory. Okay, so here we can say that four things are there. One is that only phi, then A, then B, then AB. Okay, so we can say that phi can determine phi. This many are possible. Okay, phi can determine phi, phi can determine A, phi can determine B, and phi can determine AB. I gave the clue. Can you tell me now how many functional dependencies are possible with this one? Maximum number of functional dependencies. How many? Number. Exact number you can type. 16. Very good. So same way, A can determine phi, A can determine A can determine B, A can determine AB. Now you understood. AB can determine phi, AB can determine A, B, and AB. So maximum you can make. So ultimately it is coming like 2 power 2 into 2 power 2. This they can ask as a 1 mark question. 2 power 2, left side 2 power 2. Every left side one, right side is also 2 power 2. So 2 power 2 into 2 power 2. So how many it is? 2 power, tell? 2 into 2. So 2 power 4 is equal to 16. Or we can generally, I can say that if n attributes are there, how many? 2 power n into 2 power n, it is equal to 2 power 2n. This is very important. They can ask it as a 1 mark question. So 2 power 2n. Whether you understood? Can I see some yes? Okay, fine. Okay. So you can note it down in your book, this thing. So 2 power 2n functional dependencies are possible with a relation with n attributes. Okay. So based on the given functional dependencies, this number will change. That we call it as F closure. That we'll talk about that later. Okay. Now, some axioms we are going to see. It's known as very famous Armstrong's axioms. For manipulating these functional dependencies, which all are the functional dependencies, for getting out all the functional dependencies from a given table or a relation, we are having some 6 rules. Okay, I'll write down the rules over here. See here, the first rule is reflexivity rule. Actually, if X is a superset of Y, then X determines Y. What is that? This has a connection with our trivial thing. We already know what is that. If X is a superset of Y, X is a superset of Y means it is actually trivial. If it is trivial, then X will be always determining this particular Y. If X is a superset of Y, then X will be always determining Y. This rule is known as reflexivity rule. Now, the second one is augmentation. Augmentation rule says that if X determine Y, then you can add another attribute W in the left side. XW determine is also correct. Okay. And or both are correct. This is also correct. Or the same thing what you have added in the left side, you can add in the right side also. XW determine YW is also correct. Augmentation. Augmentation means we are augmenting. If a functional dependency is given to you, X determine Y is given to you, you can add. That means you assume that this is your employee ID. Employee ID determines employee name. If employee ID alone can determine employee name, definitely if you add his name or if his father's name to the left side, right side will determine. So there is no change in that. The same way you can connect it to this one. Okay. So XW determine Y or and. Both are correct. XW determine whatever you are adding in the left side, you have to add in the right side also. This is actually augmentation rule. Now, transitivity, what is that? You all know. What is that? If X determine Y and Y determine Z, then tell X determine Z, right? This is actually X determines Y is there, Y determine Z is there, means we can always tell that X can determine Z. This is transitivity rule. And the next one is a combination of augmentation and transitivity. Pseudo transitivity. If X determine Y is there and XW determine Z is there, then you can say that X determine Y is there, YW, sorry, this is Y. X determines Y is there, YW determine Z is there, means you can say that XW determines Z. This is a combination of transitivity and augmentation. Now, this is very, very important. Union and decomposition we always will be using in the further classes. So what is that union? If X determine Z is there, or X determine Y, X determine Y, and X determine Z is there, then we can say that union of these two. Left side is same, so you can union them. So X determines Y Z, X determine Y Z. Now, if union rule is there, then we can find decomposition also. X determine Y and X determine Z, you can write like X determine Y Z, then definitely we can write if X determine Y Z, then we can decompose. How to decompose it? X determine Y Z can be decomposed into X determines Y and X determines Z. So these all are the famous Armstrong's axioms. Okay. Sometimes we need this one. Okay. But for making it more easier, we'll be having something called closure. Ultimately, if you study how to find closure, all these things comes over there. Okay. So these rules, these 6 rules you can remember. Reflexivity, augmentation, transitivity, pseudo-transitivity, union, and decomposition. Okay, these 6 rules, anytime it will be useful for doing the problems. Can I move to the next slide? Okay. Now, sometimes these all rules for studying and applying, it's very, very difficult. Okay. So for doing the problems and all, we'll be simply finding the closure of the attribute set. What do you mean by the closure of the attribute set? That means if some functional dependencies are there, what all are the indirect functional dependencies you can get out of that? That is what actually we are doing with actually for this. See this one, pseudo transitivity. If X and Y is there, X and Y is there, Y and Z is there, then simply you can write that X determines Z. That means if these two are there, then definitely we can say that this one. Same way, some functional dependencies are there means all the functional dependencies we can derive from the existing functional dependencies. For that reason only we are using closure. So you can read the definition of closure. The set of all the attributes that are functionally determined by an attribute set. Attribute set means it can have 1 or more or 5 also. Okay. So set of all the attributes that are functionally determined by an attribute set, yes, is called as closure of attribute set. I'll write an example, then only you will understand. One example I will write. You see here, I have a relation A, B, C, D. And I have a functional dependency set. Functional dependency, you know what is that, okay? A determine B, B determine C, and C determine D. Now for finding the closure of something from this is a schema, relational, without values, okay, only attributes will be there. Schema, and this is a functional dependency set. Functional dependency. So there are many functional dependencies in a table, right? So fine. Now you see, can you tell me what is a closure over here? Closure means set of all the attributes that are functionally determined by an. That means set of all the attributes which can be determined by A. That is the question. So can you tell me the answer? Okay. So all are telling A, B, C, D. We'll see. So for finding the closure, what is that? If you are finding A is closure, definitely A will come. Anything, any set of attributes closure, if you are finding, definitely that will come. Okay. So A closure, A will definitely come. Now you come and see this functional dependency. A determine B is there. So A can determine B. So B also will come. What we are finding is not this particular functional dependencies directly. I normally call it as it is directly and or explicitly and implicitly. These functional dependencies are explicitly given. A determine B. We know, seeing that itself, we know that A is determining B, B is determining C, and C is determining D. But there may be, if I write like this, A determine B, B determine C. Or there may be some implicit functional dependencies also. Can you tell one implicit functional dependencies for this one? Can you write? Explicit is this one. Can you tell one implicit? A determines C. How come you got? You can get either this one from our rules. Which one? Our transitivity rule is there. Transitivity rule says that if A determines B is there and B determines C is there, then definitely A determines C is satisfied. Yes? So this is implicit. A determines C is implicit. So getting out of all those implicit functional dependencies, we can either do it with our rules also, you can do it with the closure finding also. So now we are doing closure finding, so we can directly get the answer very easily. So A closure contains, definitely A will be there. A determine B is there, so definitely B will be there. Now you see B determines C is there, so C will be there. And C, take the case of C determine D is there, so D also will be there. So A closure contains A, B, C, D. What is the meaning of this one? Can you tell me what is the meaning of this one? Can somebody tell what is the meaning of this one? Huh? The meaning is that A determine all the cases. A determine phi, A determine A determine B, A determine C. Yes? A determine D, A determine AB, A determine BC, all combination. A determine CD, all combination. Okay, up to A determine ABCD. How many such combination will be there? Can you tell the number? How many functions? A closure means A closure contains A, B, C, D. How many functional dependencies will be there? Can you tell the number? You can relate it to our digital electronics 0, 0, 0, 0, 256. That much will come. 0, 0, 0 means 5. If anywhere 1 comes means that will be there. 0, 0, 1, 0 up to 1, 1, 1, 1. Yes or no? Yes. In that case, how many will be there? How many functional dependencies? Here 0, 0, 0, 1 means which one? D is there. Here 5. Here C is there. Then A. Repetition is not allowed. Okay. So how many total? How many total? Can you type the number? 16 will be there. So ultimately, if you are writing that A closure is ABCD means this much meaning is there. That means 16 functional dependencies are satisfying. That means 2 power n. 2 power 4 is actually 16. This if you take as 4, 2 power 4 is 16 functional dependencies are there. Now, can you tell me what is B closure? Can you tell me what is B closure? So B closure, definitely B will be there. Now B is determining C. B is determining C means definitely C will be there. C is determining D means definitely D will be there. So B closure contains B, C, D. Implicitly what it is saying? It is saying that 8 functional dependencies are satisfying. That means 2 power 3 functional dependencies if you split it out. Okay. Okay, implicitly. But we can say that B closure is BCD means all these attributes it is determining. Now what is C closure? C closure, can you tell me C closure? C closure, definitely C closure contains C. And C determine D is there, so D also will come. So how many functional dependencies? How many functional dependencies? 4 functional dependencies. So this can make 4, this can make 8. What about this guy? This can make 16. Maximum how many we could have made? Can you tell me from a relation with 4 attributes, how many maximum number of functional dependencies you can make? What is the formula for that? 2 power 2n. We already studied, right? So actually 2 power 2 into how many number of attributes? How many number of attributes? 4. Yes. So 2 power 8, 256 functional dependencies we could have made. But from the given functional dependency, only this many functional dependencies are possible. Is it clear? Is it clear? Can I see some yes or no? Fine. So I'm moving on. Now that is the meaning of this attribute set. Now we are going to some important interesting thing. It's like any campus interview, if you go, definitely they will ask this kind of DBM. DBMS is a very important subject for campus placement. Definitely they will ask question from what is a key, what is a super key, what is a candidate key, primary key, normalization, normal forms, 1NF, 2NF. They will give some table and they will ask you to check whether which normal form it is. All those questions definitely will come. Now, can you tell me what is a key? Many terms are there. Key, super key, candidate key, primary key, alternate key. Which one? Foreign key. There are many. Now six numbers I have told. Please read that text now. Key, attribute or set of attributes that determines the tuples uniquely in a relation. Attributes or set of attributes that determines the tuples uniquely in a relation. Right? So some idea we are having, more idea we'll be getting in the further classes also. Key means if any attribute. Now you see, now in a normal table we'll be having like employee ID, employee name, salary, etc. Assume that only 3 attributes are there here: employee ID, employee name, salary. Now I am telling that employee ID is a key. What is the meaning of that? Employee ID is a key means if at all employee ID repeat, entire tuple will repeat. Are you getting it? If at all employee ID 100, if it repeats, employee name Babu and salary 2 lakhs will repeat. Okay? If at all employee ID repeats, this Babu and because why it is happening? It is unique. This employee ID is unique. We will say that this is a key. Okay, these all are basically attributes. An attribute or a set of attributes can become key if at all it determines the entire tuples uniquely. Entire tuple uniquely. Okay, so now employee ID is a key. Sometimes another example I will write. Assume that there is a table F name, L name, and salary. First name, last name, and salary. Here, first name may not become a key. Why? Because Mary, maybe another one more person may be having same name Mary. So if at all Mary repeats, the other tupled values we may not repeat. So we can say we'll see that we'll ensure that in our company, if we are ensuring that first name and last name, all the people are unique, means you can go with the key as first name and last name. It may not be correct, but for our example, we are assuming that first name and last name togetherly, if it is not repeating in the company, that can become as a key. What is that key is telling? Any tuple. It can, if at all first name and last name repeat, every other attribute will, every other column will, that means same tuple, all other values will repeat. Okay, that is the idea about key. Now we have to differentiate key itself. Normally, if they are telling key in a competitive examination, they are mentioning as it as, they wanted to tell it as a candidate key only. So don't forget that. So normally, simply if they are telling key means they are meaning it as candidate key. Now, again, keys, there are some other names: super key, candidate key. What is this super key, candidate key, and all? Are you able to tell some answer? Super key. In this, I am naming it as first table, and this is second table. Can you tell me some super key for the first table, first schema? Can you tell me some super keys for the first schema? I am waiting for your answer. All are saying EID, EID. Some are saying EID and name, EID and salary. Whether e-name is a super key, e-name is a super key, can I say yes or no? E-name. Why? It is not even a key. Then how can it become a super key? Yes or no? Fine. For clearly understanding this one, okay, clearly understanding this one, we have basically two properties. This is the thing. One is uniqueness property and the another one is irreducible property. Uniqueness property means if an attribute or a set of attribute, if it can uniquely determine the tuple, if EID, since EID is the key, definitely EID closure, if you are taking, definitely what all things will come? EID will come, e-name will come, and salary will come. Ultimately, what it is meaning? If you are taking closure, if all the attributes are coming in the closure means, definitely it is a key. If you take EID closure, you will get all the things means it is a key. Okay. So if an attribute or a set of attribute, if it can uniquely determine the entire tuple, we can say that it is a super key. This super key is having only one property. What is that property? Super key is having only one property, that is uniqueness property. Tomorrow, next class, I will be asking all these questions. Okay, you have to type and tell the answer. Otherwise, one by one person I will call and ask. Next class. So super key is having only one property, that is uniqueness property. And candidate key is having two properties, uniqueness plus something. Uniqueness and irreducibility property. Now I tell. Now you understood that EID, it is uniquely determining all these things. So definitely EID, your answer is correct. Super keys. EID is a super key. What else are the super keys? EID combined with anything else is a super key. Yes or no? Yes or no? Please type yes or no. Yes. So EID with the e-name is a super key. EID with the salary is a super key. So how many such super keys you can make? Can you tell me? This is also a regularly asking gate question. How many super keys you can make with EID? EID is a candidate key. How many super keys you can make? How many? 4 or more than that? 8. What all are the 8 super keys? Can you tell, Rinsi? Which all are the 8 super keys? Can you mention that? Those who are mentioning 4, can you tell, mention all those 4? EID, this is the first one, EID, EID e-name, EID salary, and fourth one, EID e-name and salary. That's all, no? Yeah. So this many, all are super key. This is also a 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 super key. Why it is a super key? Why? Because this particular thing is also satisfying uniqueness property. If we take EID closure, you will get everything, all the attributes. If you take EID plus e-name closure, then also you will get everything. If you take EID plus salary, then also you will get everything. If you take EID plus e-name plus salary, then also you will get everything. EID itself can get everything. Then anything if you add with that one, it can make it. So definitely uniqueness property will satisfy. So in this example, first table example, there are 4 super keys. Can you tell me how many candidate keys are there in the first table? Can you tell me? Can I see the answer? How many candidate keys are there? Many are telling that 1. Why? Because we have 2 properties. If something has to become a candidate key, first case is that it should have uniqueness property. So either these 4 things only can become Which one? Candidate key. These all are only eligible for candidate key based on the first property. Now, not only that, one more property it is having. What is that property? Irreducibility property. What it is that irreducibility property is saying? Can you opt out? Can you remove some attribute from the given attribute set and still you can get the uniqueness property? Can you remove some attribute from the super key and still you are able to maintain the property of uniqueness? That means yes. EID, can you remove EID and get all the attributes? No. Okay, so EID is correct. EID is a candidate key. Now EID and ename, EID and ename, is it a candidate key? No. Why? EID and ename, if you take the closure, you will be getting EID, ename and salary. But even if you remove this one also, you will be getting these three. Because of that reason, that means it is violating what? This property. Okay, it should not be reduced further. It should not be able to reduce further. You are able to reduce. Because of that reason, this is not a candidate key. Same reason is for others also. You can remove salary. You can remove ename and salary. So there is only one candidate key over here. Which one is that? Can you type? Only one candidate key over here. Can you type? Which one? EID is the candidate key. How many super keys are there here? There are 4 super keys. Now I will tell 2 statements. You have to tell whether it is correct or not. You just type Y or N, yes or no. Okay. All the candidate keys are super keys. Is it correct? All the candidate keys are super keys. More answers I need. Or whether all the candidate keys are super keys? Exactly correct. All the candidate keys are super keys. Whether all the super keys are candidate keys? No. Exactly, you understood correctly. So all the candidate keys are super keys. One more thing you can remember in such a way that candidate key is studying in 2nd standard, okay, and super key is studying in 1st standard. For remembering purpose, sometimes you will get confusion. Is 1st standard. If somebody says why it is mentioned as 2nd standard, it is having 2 properties. Why it is mentioned as 1st standard, it is having only one property, uniqueness property. Okay, if somebody is studying in 2nd standard, definitely he would have studied in 1st standard. Okay, so definitely it is a super key. You can remember in this way. Okay, is it clear? Key, super key, candidate key, all are clear? Very good. Fine. Now we'll move to another 3 more things are there. Another 3 more topics are there. 3 more terms are there here. Primary key, alternate key, and foreign key. Now, with respect to candidate key, super key, will you be able to tell what is a primary key? What is a primary key? One of the candidate key selected by the designer of the database is known as primary key. If only one candidate key is the previous our example, only one candidate key was there, what was that? EID. Then your database designer is not having any other choice. He is supposed to go with primary key as EID. But in next sections, we will be seeing that there can be more number of candidate keys. It is not that only one candidate key will be there. There can be 5 candidate key, there can be 10 candidate key. It depends upon the functional dependencies. There can be more number of candidate keys. If more number of candidate keys are there, database designer, based on the data, whatever it is we are going to store, he will decide what should be the primary key. Any one key from the set of candidate keys, any one key he can make it as primary key. Okay, so in the previous case, only one option, So he has to choose it as primary key. If more options are there, all other options, that means whatever the database designer is choosing as candidate key or primary key, all other candidate keys except the primary key, all other candidate keys except the primary key. What is the primary key? EID in our example. Except, now in our example there is no alternate key. Okay, but if assume that if there were something like EID, SID, both are candidate key. EID is also candidate key, SID is also. So database designer is choosing EID means SID will become the alternate key. Alternate key is eligible to become a primary key, but as of now he is not. That's only meaning. Now, one last one term, foreign key. What is foreign key? Attribute or set of attributes in a relation that act as a primary key in another relation. Now I will be writing student ID, student name, class, employee ID, class, and maybe department. Employee ID, employee name, department, department ID. Now here student ID is the primary, your candidate key or primary key. Here department ID is the, here also department ID, DID. This is DID, okay. So here also DID, here also. Here department ID is the table 1, SID is the primary key, table 2, DID is the primary key. Okay. Now, can you tell me any foreign key from here? What will be the foreign key? DID in which table? Table number? DID in table number 2 or? We'll tell that DID in table number 1 is a foreign key. Here, in this table, this guy is a foreign key. Yes or no? Why? He is a key in another table. He is a key in another, or primary key in another table. Simple example we can tell. If Donald Trump is coming from America's president is coming to India, we Indians will be telling that Donald Trump is a foreign key. He is a president of that particular table, that America's president. Okay, we'll say that Donald. If Narendra Modi is going to America, Americans will tell that Narendra Modi is a foreign key. He is a Prime Minister of India. Is it clear? Yes or no? Okay, fine. So that is the concept of foreign key. Fine. Now, we are moving towards the very interesting part of this today's class. Okay, I can go up to 6:15. No, we are a little bit late, right? We started a little bit late, right? We can go up to 6:15. Yes or no? Fine. Very good. Now we are going to find, it's very, very important question. Every time gate questions are coming from finding all candidate keys. Finding all candidate keys. And why this is very important? Because if you want to touch normal form, if you want to find what is a normal form, which normal form is this particular table, anything related to normal form, the first step will be find all the candidate keys from the given schema using the given functional dependencies. Okay, so we are supposed to have a I know that you know how to find the candidate keys and all. I will give a question, you can find it, and after that I will show some shortcut for finding this one, because gate we need time and speed and accuracy is very, very important. So we have to find some tricks to find candidate keys. So I'll type one and I'll write one question, one schema, first question. Okay, first question. You can take your book and pen and you can write this relation A, B, C, D, functional dependency set AB determines CD, C determine D, and C determine A. This is a schema. You know what is that? Okay. All these things I have explained. These all are attributes. This is a functional dependency set. There are 3 functional dependencies. A, B determines CD, C determine D, and C determine A. Now you have to find which all are the candidate keys. There can be one candidate key or more than one candidate key in a given schema and functional dependency. So you have to tell me how many candidate key and which all are the candidate keys. How many candidate key and which all are the candidate keys. Please do it fast. How many candidate keys? How many candidate keys? Who all are saying 2 candidate keys? Just type 2 over there. Okay. Those who are typing 2, can you mention which all are the candidate keys over there? A, B, and C, B. Grishma is correct. Rinsi is correct. Ria is correct. Ranjana, A, B, and C, B. Nitin Dominic, A, B, and C, B. Very good. So 5 students only got correct answer. Now I will show you how to find. I know I don't know what method you have applied, but I'm going to show a shortcut for finding this particular thing. Okay, listen very carefully. For finding all the candidate keys, first of all, you are supposed to find one candidate key. First of all, you are supposed to find one candidate key. Then how I will start? I will check the given functional dependency. You see there relation schema A, B, C, D. 4 attributes are there. Functional dependency A, B to C, D, C to D, and C to A. I'll check the functional dependencies. I'll see which all are the attributes which is coming only in the left side. Which all are the attributes which is coming only in the left side. Can you tell me which all are the attributes coming only in the left side? Type. Which all are the attributes coming only in the left side? A. See here, A is coming here also, left side and right side. Now B is coming only in the left side, right? B is coming only in the left side of these functional dependencies. So B is coming only in the left side. C, both left side and right side. D, only on the right side. Now I got a clue. B is coming only in the left side means definitely B will be a part of all the candidate keys which we are going to make. Definitely B will be a part of all the candidate keys which we are going to make. So now first itself we will try to get whether B is a candidate key or not. I am telling B will be a part of the candidate key. Maybe B can be a candidate key also, but I have to verify that. Okay, but B definitely will be a part. So what I will do, B closure I am taking. What is B closure? Can you tell me? B closure, definitely B will be there. B closure, definitely B will be there. Anything else? This and all you cannot split. Right side only you can split. Okay. Once again, one more thing I will tell. Normally students will do like AB determine CD is there. Assume that AB determines CD is there. Okay. Based on our decomposition rule, you can apply decomposition rule and tell, right, AB to C and AB to D. This is based on our decomposition rule. AB to C and AB to D. And the reverse is actually our union rule. But many students will show a tendency to break down the left side also. It will be incorrect. Why it is incorrect? First name and last name is determining something means you cannot separate first name and last name. If it stand together only, it can determine something. Okay, but right side you can split it. Okay, right side doesn't matter. If something stand together only, then you can determine, means left side you cannot split. Clearly you understand decomposition rule you should not apply on the left side. Decomposition rule you should apply only on the right side. Okay, fine. Now B closure, B is there. Now you may be thinking B is here. Can I add CD over here? It is not possible. Why? You cannot break this one. You cannot break that left side. Okay, so if B is there somewhere separately over here, you can write the right side. So B closure, only B is there. So what I understood, I am not getting, when I am taking B closure, I am not getting the entire schema. What is that? If something has to become a key, if I take a closure of that one, I should get the entire tuple. What is that entire tuple? The entire tuple means all the attributes I should get uniquely. But that is not coming over here. So I clearly understood that this cannot become a super key also, not candidate key also, because even the uniqueness property is not satisfied by B. If uniqueness property is satisfying, definitely its closure when you are taking, you will be getting all the attributes. But uniqueness property is not satisfying. That means that the student is not even studying in first standard. If he is not studying in first standard, he is not eligible to become a key. Okay, neither super key nor candidate key. Fine. Now, what is the next step? Now you observe. Only B is coming in the left side. So this is a very simple process only for making you understand. I am telling it very slowly. So B is coming only in the left side. Now you observe any attribute which is coming only in the right side. Can you type? Only in the left side B. Only right side anything? D. Now, what is the conclusion of observation from that? D will never be a part of any of the candidate key. You can note it down on your book and all. Okay, I am not writing it over here. That one, whatever statement I am telling in the running notes, you can write. Okay, right side, any attribute which is coming only in the right side, that will never be a part of any of the candidate key. Okay, so D will be never a part of any of the candidate key. Anything comes both left and right? Any attributes come both left and right? B is coming only in the left side. D is coming only in the right side. C and A both are coming left and right. C and A coming both are left and right. So what we can do? Now we can go with the trial and error method. You can add one by one. Left and right means it may or may not be a part of candidate key. You have to check that. So what I do, I have to add, B will be definitely a part of a candidate key. So I have to add one by one and I will check. So I'll first add A over here. AB closure I will take, AB closure. When I take AB closure, what I am getting? AB closure gives AB. What? AB closure gives, since AB togetherly is coming, I can get CD. So AB closure is giving ABCD means it is satisfying uniqueness property. So definitely with B something I have added, B alone I couldn't get that uniqueness property. With B something when I added, it became a key. Definitely it will be a candidate key. Why? One by one I am adding. If you are simply randomly taking something, then I cannot guarantee that it is a candidate key. It may be a super key. You are taking the closure of something, you are taking ABC, your ABC closure if you are taking, and if you are getting all the attributes, I cannot tell that it's a candidate key. I will simply tell that it's a super key. Why? Because it may be satisfying uniqueness property. Because of that reason only, when you are putting closure of that one, you are getting all the attributes. But I may be able to remove some attributes from that I have to check it. But in this case, you don't have to do that because one by one only you are adding. Okay, so definitely AB is a candidate key. I understood that AB closure, when I am getting everything, definitely AB is a candidate key. Okay, if you have doubt, you can check that. If you remove A from AB, you remove and B closure, if you are taking, uniqueness property will not satisfy. Remove B and you take A closure, if you take, uniqueness property will not satisfy. Okay, so definitely AB is a candidate key. Now next one is the interesting step. Now for after finding the first candidate key, If you want to find further any other candidate keys are here or not without applying any brain on that one, you can simply get it that outside. Okay, how? You see, my first candidate key is AB. Take one attribute A. Okay, take one by one attribute A. I have taken A. Go and check whether A is there in the right side or not. A is there in the right side. Are you able to see A in the right side? Whether this A attribute is there in the right side? Yes or no? Yes. If A is there in the right side, you can substitute the left side of that functional dependency instead of A. So if A is there in the right side, instead of A, I can substitute C over here. CB, it will become this B is this B. Instead of A, I can substitute C. Why? A was there, A is there in the right side. If right side A is there, left side I can substitute. So that case, A is becoming CB. Now I will tell that. Now CB is another candidate key. Now you may be getting down. How come he is telling that CB is another candidate key? If you have doubt, what you are supposed to do? Take the closure of CB. CB closure, if you are getting everything, uniqueness property is satisfying. Then you try to remove something, it will not satisfy uniqueness property. Okay. So CB closure, what all things will be there? Can you type? CB closure, what all things will be there? Definitely CB will be there. Definitely CB will be there. Because of this C, D will come. And because of this C, A will come. That is actually CBDA. That means all the attributes are satisfying. Now you may be thinking, how come you ensured that it is a candidate key? It may be a super key also. Then I will tell you. Now you check for a reducible property. Can you reduce CB? Take CB. Can you reduce CB? How can you reduce CB? Tell. How can you reduce CB? You cannot. You remove C and take the closure of B. You will not get everything. You remove B and take closure of C. You will not get everything. What is it clearly saying? That if CB stand together only, you can get uniqueness property. Otherwise, you are not getting uniqueness property. Clearly shows that it is satisfying both uniqueness property and irreducible property. So definitely CB is another candidate key. Now, maybe some more candidate keys will be there. Okay, just follow this procedure. What is that? Instead of A, I have substituted B. In that lexicographic order you go, otherwise you will get confusion. Now you take B. Whether B is there in the right side, yes or no? B is there in the right side, type yes or no? No. So leave it. Okay. Now you take C. Okay, new attribute you got C. Whether C is there in the right side? Yes or no? Whether C is there in the right side? Yes. Why no? C is there. This one is C actually. Type yes now. Yes. Okay. So C is there in the right side. Now apply decomposition. Now if you are getting confusion, you can apply decomposition rule over here. What I told you, decomposition rule you should apply only on the right side. So AB determines C and AB determine D. You can write. Initial days you can study like this. Later when you are getting experience, you can go ahead with the same thing. Okay. So now AB determines CD. You can write like AB to C and AB to D. Okay. Now can you substitute instead of C? Can you substitute something? What is that I told you? If something is there in the right side, left side you can substitute. Now what will happen if you substitute instead of C, left side you should not break. Okay. You cannot apply decomposition rule on the left side. Now instead of C, what you will get? AB. But I don't encourage that. Why? This AB is already there. So I will not get any advantage by substituting AB over there. So I'll simply ignore that one. Now I just ignored that one because lesser number of attributes I am already having. So this will give any value to my candidate keys. That will definitely say wrong thing. Just you can ignore that one. Okay. Now instead of A, I substituted C, and instead of B, nothing is there to substitute. And instead of C, I substituted AB, but AB is already there as a candidate key. So it is not adding any value to my candidate keys. So I am stopping there. All the different attributes, A, B, and C, I have substituted, and I am not getting anything new. As long as I am not getting anything new, or if I am getting new means I have to keep on going. For all the attributes, I have to keep on substituting. Once it is not getting anything new, you can stop there and declare that you are having two candidate keys. Which all are the candidate keys? Can you type now? AB and CB. Two candidate keys are there. AB and CB. Two candidate keys are there. One problem I will give you. After doing that, we can leave for today. Okay. So now next problem you have to do. Is it clear? Whether anybody is having doubt, I will explain once again. If any single no is there, I will explain once again. So be very careful. Everything is okay. Am I going very fast? Am I going very slow? So that I can go very fast also, I can reduce the speed also. Is it okay, or I have to increase the speed or reduce the speed? Okay, fine. So now I will give one problem. You do that problem and after that we'll leave. Okay. One problem you can write. Relation A, B, C, D, E, functional dependency set. AB determines CD, C determine D. AB determines CD and C determine D. Can you tell me how many candidate keys and which all are the candidate keys there? Two answers I am expecting. How many and which all are the candidate keys? Many are telling answer A, B, E. Is it correct? I don't know. Only one? Anybody got two? Anybody got zero? Zero is correct. Anybody got zero? Zero is correct. Anybody got zero? Type zero. Anybody got zero? Type zero. Nobody? Okay, fine. So one is correct. Now how we will find? Now you see here. How many attributes are there in your functional dependency? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you observe your functional dependencies. It's a different question, okay? Now you observe your functional dependency. All attributes are not there present in the functional dependency. See, A is here, B is here, C is here, D is here. But E is not there, yes or no? Yes or no? E is not there in the functional dependency, yes? You have to keep it circled or something like that. No? Yes. Okay, E is not there in the functional dependency. So you have to circle it so that you will not remember about, you will not forget about it. Okay. Now starting with our procedure. What is our procedure? Something is there only in the left side. Can you tell me which is there only in the left side? Which attributes are there only in the left side? Can you tell me? A is only in the left side. A is there. B is there. C and D. C both are there. D only in the right side. So what is our conclusion? A and B will be definitely the part of all the candidate keys. I don't know how many candidate keys, but whatever the candidate keys you are telling, A, B will be part of that. That I understood. One more thing I understood. D will never be a part of any of the candidate key. Why? Because D is coming only in the right side. Now, okay. C may or may not be a part of any candidate. May or may not be. So what I will do first, I will check with the AB. AB closure I will take. What is AB closure? Tell me. AB, CD. AB closure is equal to AB, and AB gives CD, so AB, CD. Now, I understood that. This E will never come because it is not there in the functional dependency. Remaining A, B, C, D, I got it with AB. One thing is very much clear. AB will be part of all the candidate keys, and without adding anything itself, I got all the attributes except E. E will not come because E is not there in the functional dependency. Now I understood AB should be a candidate key. Whether AB is a candidate key? AB is a candidate key or not? Yes or no? No, surely no. Why? If you take AB closure, if it should be a candidate key means definitely A, B, C, D, E should come. No, E is not coming. Clearly shows that uniqueness property is not satisfying. First property itself is not satisfying. So AB is not a candidate. So what we are supposed to do, whatever it is not there in the functional dependency, you have to add with that one. If you get more number of candidate keys by substitution also, every candidate key you have to add E. Okay. Now if you add AB with E, this E is coming from here. ABE. Now you take ABE closure. ABE closure is equal to AB CD E. This is the entire table, and this is satisfying uniqueness property, irreducible property. Why irreducible property? If you remove something and take the closure of the other, you will not get ABCD. Anyone. If you remove A and take the closure of B, E, or if you remove B and take the closure of AE, or if you remove E and take the closure of AB, you will not get ABCD. Okay? Because of that reason, we can say that this cannot be reduced further. ABE cannot be reduced further. So the candidate key, now substitution we didn't do, right? Substitution, before adding this E, we have to do the substitution. Okay, we got AB closure. When I am taking A, B, C, D is coming. Now you have to substitute whether A is there in the right side. A is there in the right side? No. Whether B is there in the right side? No. So there is nothing to substitute. A is not there in the right side. B is not there in the right side. So only AB will be the candidate key. Not AB, AB plus E. It will be the candidate. So there's only one candidate key. So what is that candidate key? AB E. So we will wind up for today. We are now supposed to stop at 6 o'clock. Okay. So next class we will continue at 4:30 itself. Thank you. Okay, you can leave. Thank you.